Just a small cleanup task in the garden today, but it will make a big difference going into late summer. I'm going to be cutting back a big beautyberry shrub, removing some Clethra suckers, and continuing weeding and mulching. So let's dig in. I'm going to start over here and just clean up from right to left along the border, starting with the edge. Just going to take my shovel along the edge of the Bermuda grass to try to get the runners out that are trying to get into the flower bed. There's a long one. And then of course I have a few weeds and Bermuda grass trying to grow up through my dianthus here. It's really hard to get these runners out when they're inside the root ball of the plant. See if I can get, might not be able to get all of it this time. It's really in there. The best way to do it is try to locate the runner at the edge of the grass, if I can, and try to pull it out from there. See, here's one. This might be it actually. Or part of it. Okay, that actually might be it right there. So I already came in and did some deadheading on these perennials a little bit earlier in the season, so they don't need a whole lot of pruning today, but I am going to do a little bit of cleanup in here. There's a lot of new growth that has already flushed out at the base of the plant, so that is going to look great here in a few weeks once that starts to produce some new flowers. I'm mainly just looking to prune some of the edges here. I'm being selective with this deadheading because I want to make sure there are still flowers for our bees and other pollinators. Okay, that looks pretty good. The biggest task I want to accomplish today is actually in this portion of the bed where I have a huge American beautyberry shrub. It is gorgeous, but there's a spigot back here on the side of the house and I cannot access it this time of year because the shrub is just in the way. So I think I'm just going to come in and cut out this portion of the shrub to try to create a little pathway or a little tunnel, I guess, for me to get back to turn the water off at the house. My hose link comes out this way and sits right here. So I do need access to that point, and I have a pathway here that helps me get there. But anyways, so I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and do a little bit of cutback on this shrub, and that will also give me access to all of the weeds that I have growing underneath it. The shrub is actually in bloom right now. You can see these really pink white flowers here, and the pollinators just love them. Okay, so I'm not going to touch this portion of the plant. I'm going to kind of start here at the bottom and kind of work my way up in this area. I will make some initial cuts back about halfway just to be able to get back here, and then I'll go back in and prune these further back toward the base of the plant. There are some branches growing back here on the ground, so I'm going to cut those back too. I'm just going to cut these all the way back to the base of the plant. Okay, so I think that's looking a lot better already. I hate that I have to trim this back at all because it is such a beautiful shrub, and I do think it has a really pretty shape on its own. But in this case, in order to have the shrub here, I need to be able to have access to the spigot against the house. I did actually prune this a little bit differently this year. I kept the stems higher up, at least 3 feet off the ground. There were about 3 of them that I left up at this height in order to try to have stronger branching and a more upright habit. So there wasn't as many, because I didn't want as many of the branches to weep down to the ground, mainly because once the berries develop and mature in the late summer into the fall, they carry a lot of weight on the plant, and the berries will just be basically just hanging on the ground. There's actually a start of some berries here. You can see that they start off green and then they turn a bright magenta later in the season as they mature. But once those berries kind of weep all the way down and they're sitting on the ground, the birds don't seem to like them as much. So I think having the branches a little more upright and off the ground is going to help the birds enjoy this plant even more. So especially because they have all these really great places to perch up here as well. I want to go in and address the next issue, which was all these weeds. Now you can really see what I was dealing with down here. I mean, look at all of these. So I need to come in and just do a whole swoop of this, and it looks like I stopped mulching back here, so I need to come in with a full layer of mulch here to suppress the weeds throughout the rest of the season. All right, I got a layer of mulch down, and I just think this area of the garden is looking so much better, and especially this area right here where I had so much overgrowth and weeds. I can't believe I forgot to mulch this part of the garden, but obviously that is why I had so many weeds. It's so important to keep the ground covered. Whether you use mulch or pine straw, we just need that layer on top to help suppress the weeds. And I have a hellebore over here that is finally mulched and happy. And this whole garden is just looking great now. I trimmed back some of the old tired blooms on my hydrangea as well. and a little bit of the dieback that I had on my Clethra here. The whole area just looks clean and tidy, and I think this is really going to help this garden thrive through the end of summer. While I was out here, I also finished the mulching on my stone pathway here. You saw me in my last video uncover this stone pathway that was just overgrown by plants and weeds, and it's just looking so much better now. This whole breakfast garden is complete, and I'm just so happy with how it turned out. This definitely has me feeling more relaxed going into late summer. Next, I came through and got a few weeds out of this bed along the edge of the house, and that also included taking the blooms off of my Heuchera. This is watermelon Heuchera, which I absolutely love. It is such a standout. Look at these leaves, and the backs of them have this gorgeous pink color. I just love the contrast. Isn't that pretty? I just went around and tidied up the plant by cutting back the blooms, and they are looking great. One thing that I'm glad I accomplished today was removing the suckers out from the base of this Clethra plant. The plant was really happy in this part sun location, and it was just starting to spread everywhere into the other plants. So I just needed to tidy it up a little bit. This one gets, I think, a little bit more sun, so you see a little bit more of the green tones in the leaves on this one. Then I start to get into some of my full sun plants as we turn the corner here and go into a full sun garden. These are vincas, drops of Jupiter oregano from Proven Winners. It is in full flower right now. Some spent blooms, but it's so pretty. The bees have been loving this plant as well. I have some coreopsis, which is kind of split open, so I did come in here, cut that back just a little bit as well. We just had some heavy rain, so that's part of the reason that these plants are splayed out a little bit, but I'm going to wait a little bit before I do any more cut back here. And then I came through and pruned back the flowers on this Heuchera. This is a Proven Winners variety of Heuchera, and I absolutely love this one too. This one also has a really pretty underside to the leaves. You can see that, and this dark color has maintained throughout the summer. It's mid-July, and I'm so impressed that the color has held on this long. Here in the south, we just get so hot, and the foliage on these dark green plants will typically just turn green during the summertime. So I'm really impressed that the color has held on this long, and it's still that dark black color, which just pairs nicely with any other green plants in the garden. All right, that's all for today. I feel so much more relaxed seeing this garden project complete. Let me know what's going on in your garden in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.